Welcome to No Stress, the podcast that celebrates no shame and struggle. I'm your host, Nina Simone, and today I'm joined by Kehinde Andrews. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. So today you're doing a book and a film exclusive showing. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so May the 19th is Malcolm X's 100th birthday. For anybody who's seen me before knows that Malcolm X is absolutely, I got Malcolm X t-shirt on. Malcolm X is the foundation for most things. And so I thought this is the right time, his 100th birthday, 60 years since he died as well this year in February. This is the perfect time I wrote a book, Nobody Can Give You Freedom, which kind of outlines what is Malcolm's analysis and what's his politics. And also took some money from the book and we just independently made a documentary which features people like George the Poet, Malcolm's daughter, Mark Lamont Hill's in it randomly. Went to New York and filmed. And so, yeah, we've been screening that, started in Birmingham, gone to Bristol, Leeds, other places, and now we're in Manchester, showed the film, and then it will be online on Malcolm's birthday, May the 19th.
So it'll be free for people to watch?
Yeah, the whole point of it was so that people can learn about Malcolm X. So we were just going to put it on YouTube. Yes. The Make It Plain channel on his birthday.
Because you're a professor in Black Studies, but I think at school level, sort of primary school and high school, very minimal amounts that we're learning about Black history. So it's, I guess, you're doing it at university level. Is it people doing masters, PhDs, or is it university degrees?
Yeah, so Black Studies, we used to have an undergraduate Black Studies, but the university cancelled it. First, we got a new Black head of the university, and he decided to get rid of Black Studies. That's the whole
This is the second podcast I've done that I've said this. I don't know if you know about Dr. Hakeem Adi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to him about the same thing. I wonder if it was a sort of collective movement.
You know what? In America, there's a proper attack on Black Studies, like actual, there's campaigns and they're stripping stuff.
Right.
In the UK, there's not very much. So our degree was the only undergraduate one. Hakeem Adi had a master's. That's about it. So there's so little. There's not. You don't need a campaign. There's nothing there, and so the university just withdraws support because it's all about money. Can you get money? And they just don't really care.
Yeah.
Having said that, we do have a master's still that we just validated. So the master's runs this September. It is Black Studies and Global Justice. We made links with places in America, Europe, potentially Africa. Where in the master's is 1 year, and for the last few months you can go abroad and get some experience.
Wow.
So Black Studies is still around. Yeah.
What kind of things do you see people moving on to once they've been through your programme? Yeah,
that was the what we were missing with losing the undergraduate is all the students actually did really well. So we've had a lot of students go and do masters, PhDs. We've had students going to teaching. We've had students. We had one student who was an artist and's gone on to really good things in art and stuff. People going to activism. There's a range of things, really. I mean, like most degrees, our Black Studies degree is just a degree. And what you do with it then is there's no real limits. There's no real limits to it.
Amazing. So in terms of activism then, because I know for me, it's quite a taboo term. Mm-hmm. How do activists connect? And, because I think a lot of people who might have it in them sit back because they think, oh, well, how do you actually connect with these people? Mm-hmm. Can you shed any light on that?
That's a big question, 'cause definitely in the past it was easier. So back in the day, still is. I mean, it still kind of is, right? But because, particularly Black activism, because we tend to live in the same areas, it's still the case, right? It's still largely inner city. Half of all Black people live in London. Once you go London, Birmingham, Manchester, that's probably about 75% of all Black people. And we tend to live in kind of similar areas. But one of the things that's changed over the last 50 years or so is we just go outside less. So my dad was even saying, he'll walk down the road now and there's nobody on the road. Whereas in his day, there'd just be people be around. But now everybody's inside TVs, computer games, social media, whatever. So it's actually more difficult to build community because everyone's in their yard, right? Mm-hmm. People don't even send their kids out. I don't know when you were growing up, but when I was growing up, we were out all the time.
Yeah. It
wasn't really an issue. We just walked around. So you just met more people and there was more opportunities to do that.
Right.
Whereas now that's less so. But not impossible still. So, I mean, we have Harambe organisation, a Black Unity, which I'm actually, the book tour and the film tour is funded by that, and we're making money for the organisation. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things we did was we started a newspaper. Now, newspapers are really underrated things. And we just took the newspaper and we just went around Birmingham to all the Black food stores, all the black businesses, and we just left it there, spoke to people, got people's email addresses, put them on a list. And over years, you do that, you keep doing that, put events on, bring people in. Eventually, you'll meet people and connect with people. So now, as an organisation, we've got thousands of people on the mailing list. When we put things out, we're going to get lots of attention. But it's what I would say to people is it's hard. And I think that's why people get put off doing something like that. It's just a lot of hard work. Like, it really is. There's no way around it.
Networking in general is getting a lot harder, dating and all of the same things that used to be easier. It's like, how do I even meet someone? Like, I'm not that bad, but can I catch a man? Not really. So it's not just activism. It kind of affects a lot of
there's less community, right? There's less places to commune with each other. So, everything's hard. I was... recently, my wife passed away, so I was in a relationship for a very, very, very long time. I come out of there, find out about these apps and things. What's that?
Yeah.
Back in the day, you just went out. There's people around.
Are we going to find you on the apps? Or I always wonder, like, teachers, professors, like, do you engage because if someone saw you on there? How would that look?
Oh, God, that's what it is. So, yeah, I'm not on the apps.
No, yeah, you've got to hide from there. But, yeah, I went on, but it's just not really for me. I find it severely overwhelming. But you've just touched on a subject that, obviously, I would like to open up because a lot of my podcasts talk about parenthood journeys, particularly... It's been mainly single mums that I've spoken to who are raising children after being in a relationship that has broken down and are now single-handedly raising their children for one reason or another, or fathers who don't have access to the children. But with you, as you've mentioned, your wife, Nicole, passed away in, was it 2022?
Yes.
And you have 4 children and you raised them alone. Yes, so first of all, I'm sorry to hear that, and I wasn't aware until you mentioned it, so I just wanted to sort of go into that a little bit and ask you really how you're managing and, you know, how you're managing to raise children as a single father and what sort of help you get.
Yes, I mean, one thing about community is, you know, people not very, very, very few people, I'd say, raise kids by themselves. Even when my wife was alive, there was still family.
Yeah.
I'm from Birmingham, she's from Birmingham, so my mum's... I literally live 5-minute walk from my mum's house, and Nicole's family's around in Birmingham as well. So, like, I can come and do these talks and things because there's always someone... My daughter's also 16 years old.
Okay.
Who's from a previous marriage. It's a long story. She actually kidnapped herself to come and live with me.
Really?
Yeah, but her mother's American, and she grew up in America. But actually, when Nicole died, she decided she wanted to live in England and just didn't go back. And just stayed in England. So there was a long court process. It wasn't that long. There was a court process in which I was accused of kidnapping her, but I won in the end, so it's fine. So she's in the house, but that makes it easier as well because obviously, as she's 16, so she can look after her brothers.
Is she good with her siblings?
Yeah, they all get along. They all get along with that. So I mean, generally, like there's people around. So I would say I'm a single parent certainly, but I'm not by myself.
Right.
That definitely helps.
Yeah. So I can imagine having that sort of network because a lot of people I've spoken to, the struggle is we don't necessarily have the same sort of framework of family generations sort of above you there to help. So obviously with you do have that and that makes it manageable.
Yeah, easier. Not easy, but yeah, it
definitely helps.
It definitely helps.
A bit more manageable.
Yeah.
And how do they feel about everything that you're doing? Are they... You know, do they follow in your footsteps? Are they on a similar pathway? How do they feel about your work so far?
I don't know. They're around, so I bring my kids around to things. So, like in Birmingham, I put them to work at the book launch and film event. They were selling books, we had a food concession stand. They're very lucky, my kids, because if I can take them places, I took them to Ethiopia. When I went to Ethiopia to visit and do a talk there. Actually, they came when we did the film. They're in the film in New York because I took them to New York when we filmed. As my son, Kadiri, my 12-year-old now, his birthday is the same day Malcolm X was assassinated. We went to film this event in New York. So they're all there with me. So I think I'll be honest, they don't appreciate it.
Yeah. It's normally the way, isn't it?
They don't appreciate it now.
Used to it.
But they will do. I think when they're older, they definitely will do.
Yeah, and they look back on it.
Yeah, they'll look back and they help out. So they help out with the podcast. They help out with... we just made a trailer. Kadiri did the trailer and stuff. So they're very involved. They're not appreciating it, but...
Just yet.
I'm sure, hopefully...
This is why we do it, isn't it? So one day they'll look back and realise, actually, we were quite privileged in a sense. And in terms of teaching, how do you, because I'd say not just in the university, but generally you're an educator. So when it comes to your children, how much of an input do you have on their education outside of the classroom at school?
Yeah, I always say to everybody, like, in fact, there's a quote in the Malcolm X book, why would you let the enemy educate your children? And look, schools are the schools. I got to go through the schools. I got to get these. I'm a professor. I have all the credentials, literally all of them. So I'm not saying to nobody don't go and get those credentials, but those for me are not the measure of my children's education.
Right.
They have to do them. They're going to get them. They're going to get good grades, I imagine. But the actual education, this is one of the things I always say. Like, I'm not against Black history in schools, but that's for white people.
Yeah.
That's not. If we're not teaching that, if our kids don't know Black history, that's our fault. You cannot blame the schools for that. You shouldn't expect the schools to do it. And when they do it, they tend to do it badly as well, which is the more.
I felt quite uncomfortable when it came to Black history at school. I felt like quite attacked, and I thought this is very uncomfortable for me. It's a small proportion of Black history, and I know there's a lot more to it, but that's not the part they teach you. So yeah, for me, when my son was very young, we were homeschooling for some time. Is that something you've done at some point, or?
I'm actually never homeschooled. I'm too busy. I ain't got time.
Well, it would be nice, wouldn't it, if we had that balance of, having education systems, because I know there's been activists in Manchester that have set up schooling and done these things, and like you say, it's a lot more difficult these days, but I think things go in cycles and there's trends and patterns, and I believe that there's so many people now in Manchester homeschooling. We might come back to it.
Yeah.
But not in the capacity where you're at home educating your child alone.
Yeah.
Actually, the community has things happening to educate.
What was that like when I was homeschooling?
I loved it. I mean, there's no funding for it. So it was a case of self-funding. He was going to forest school. He was doing capoeira. He was doing gymnastics and football. So it was quite active and natural learning. And then TAP project, the African Pop project, they were sort of putting into creating curriculums and finding spaces for the children to go and have sort of class lessons. And they're still working on that. So to be honest, I'm still in the groups, and I'm hoping that, once the curriculum is designed where parents can actually go and do their day-to-day things and know that the child has been educated in a more conscious way, I'll pull him back out, because yesterday he got up and he said, "Mom, why did we stop homeschooling?"
Really?
I said, because you said you wanted to go to school.
Yeah.
And also, having had him go to school now, he's got to experience that side of life. He understands that it's not for him. He doesn't enjoy it. And he always says to me, "I just want to go and live in Africa. I don't want to be here."
Oh, really?
And I'm like, wow, we've never been to Africa, so I don't know where it comes from. But I'm raising a child that seems to have this inbuilt essence of what he wants, and homeschooling is one thing, going to live in Africa, and he always talks about the lines of the past being his ancestors, and he talks about them quite often.
Wow.
So
that's good. You obviously homeschooled him properly.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's only 6.
Okay, well.
Yeah, so he's very young.
Yeah.
He says a lot of spiritual things.
Okay,
He said before he came to this earth to have me as his mum, he could see me from the sky. He could see the rain and the clouds, and he could see me coming in and out of my house.
Yeah.
And he decided to come to me to be his mum. And I thought, okay, I don't know how much of this is just your beautiful imagination, but he seems to be emotionally intelligent, which, I love.
That's good. Yeah. I'm saying that's the main thing, isn't it? Like, they have to get the grades, but their actual education is something. Yeah. It's something else.
So your children are in sort of mainstream, primary and high school?
Regular old school. Yeah.
Do you make them do sort of studies outside? How do you teach them? Or is it just in the field? You say they help with the podcast and they help with things. So rather than sitting down and educating them, do you just get them doing more proactive things?
You know what? There's nothing like routine, to be honest. It's more conversations with them. Like, I talk about things. In fact, one day they asked me to tell them stories, so I told them stories about the Haitian Revolution. Here's a story about Nanny the Marines. Here's a story, and they really loved it. We actually made a booklet years ago for the organisation, which is different figures of Black liberation. So like Marcus Garvey's in there, Nanny's in there, Malcolm's in there, and they have that in their room, so they read those out sometimes. they're in the world. So they are listening because like my oldest daughter and my son, they actually like edit the podcast and stuff, and they're listening. They all watch the film. They all came and watch the film, ask questions about it. But it's that conversation. It's more like it's not a routine thing. It's here's stuff you're gonna read. Here's stuff we're gonna talk about. When I go and do a talk, you have to listen. Are you picking some stuff up?
Yeah, going with the flow.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, I tell the story in the Malcolm X book when Kadiri was my 11, 12-year-old son. When he was 2, he went to the shop with his grandmother and he saw the X-Men toys and he thought it was Malcolm X. That's what he thought it was. So, in fact, I used to play Malcolm X speeches at dinner time, but they got so annoyed by it, I stopped.
Okay. They're like, stop.
Yeah, like,
oh, fair enough. As long as you're not ramming it down the throat, you're just kind of giving them little gems that they can hold on to and take what they want to from it, which I think is the best way to teach a child, in all honesty. I was the same with my son. We had a few little bits where we do organised lessons, but a lot of it was kind of he woke up and he'd be curious about a certain animal or this or that, and I'd literally spend the day diving into that.
Was there?
And he knows about species of animals that I don't even know about.
Oh,
He's like, how do you know what that is, Mum? I'm like, just never really got taught it and never found out. But for me, I think growing up, I was quite far removed from Black history. Growing older and understanding the importance of it and how much of a key that gives you to your identity, I didn't understand that process at all. I didn't even know who Marcus Garvey was until last year, and that should shame. I'm ashamed, really, but it's just something I've never been taught. And I grew up in Longsight, which is quite a Black area, but then I went to a private school. There wasn't any Black history really at all. So for me, I felt that the way to be successful in life was to kind of ignore my Blackness, and deep down I felt like I had to work a little bit harder to get to where I was going to, but I would almost like deny the black side of me in order to try and be like, okay, well, if I'm going to be successful, it's not about identifying with the Black side of me. It's about I can be in this space despite the fact that I am Black, basically. Yeah. So it's been a bit of an educational process because I've come back into studying at a later time. And obviously stumbled on the likes of like Calf Lock and the Abyssindi Cooperative and all of these things that were happening in Manchester. And straight away I started to feel like a connection. So yeah, I've done a lot of my writing about the Abyssindi and really connecting with it. So I think for me, I'm only starting my journey with sort of Black history now. And there's a lot in Central Library and the archives. A lot of this stuff's hidden, which I never understood.
Well, they don't. I'm not saying that. It's not necessarily a conspiracy. It is kind of a conspiracy, but like it also isn't. Sometimes it's just they just don't care in the UK. They literally just don't care. So they'll just put it somewhere in the back. Sometimes you should dig. You can find it in places. Yeah,
you have to book it 24 hours, 48 hours in advance, and then they bring out the trolleys, and it's transcripts of interviews that were happening in the 60s, 70s in Manchester.
Oh, right.
And there was a recurring pattern. I've read some of the interviews, and the pattern was they kept demolishing areas. They demolished the church, the schools in the community, so people would just get a sense of community, and then it would be regeneration. And that would happen time and time again. So going a little bit further back, as you've done, I would like to say, okay, were those patterns happening from then? And, like, how do we move on from that, do you know? It's difficult to overcome and recover from, isn't it? Especially now community is struggling to kind of connect.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that has been the case, definitely, where just our community is always under attack and then just get dismantled and we get pushed around, and so that does mean like even somewhere like Birmingham where I am, like the Black people we all live in the city, but that's been pushed around like where we are in the city, same similar kind of thing to Manchester, and so that does then disrupt, right? So so much in the 60s when you had Black Power. So Black Power in the UK was a big, huge thing, which never really gets talked about. You just think it's like an American thing, and we don't talk about all the stuff that happened in the UK. And in fact, in the film, the Malcolm film, I spoke to my parents first, because they're both heavily in Black Power. Like I was lucky. So I was very, very lucky because I grew up in Black Power. The books in my house, all of the books were there, and I rejected it at one point. Like I wasn't always pro-black. In fact, I was what's the polite word to say? Coconut, chocolate ice, bounty bar.
Yeah,
100%. When I was,
think all those names.
I think I prefer bounty bar. I don't know. That's a generational thing.
Coconut, that was me.
But that's what the system does to you. Like it makes you, like when I was 11, went to school. The teachers, it was so clear, like black kids do badly in school. That's just what they were saying. Black kids do badly, and we all kind of listened to that message. And I was like, well, I can't be a black kid then because I'm not doing too badly, so I'll just go with the white kids. And that's that kind of trauma that you have to go through. It's just not. I would have loved to know what I know now then, because I didn't really know then. And I was lucky enough to grow up in Black Power, but not really knowing it and really deep in how important it was. And that the community was such a big part of that, and everything's happened to us through, policing, economic problems, just regeneration. It just really is attacking the community. And actually it's getting worse now because the inner city, whereas it used to be not very valuable, that's where we lived there, now it's hugely valuable because there's no industry anymore. So it's forget regeneration, gentrification, where whole communities is going to be gone shortly because to make space for wine bars, things like that, and accommodation, all this fancy flats and things. And so that's the big problem for us now, is that actually the problems are going to get way worse because the community is going to have difficulty to actually just exist like it did before.
So what do you think we can do about it? Because I know that you've obviously heavily gone into the life of Malcolm, and he was always a man with a plan.
Yes.
And I think what we're lacking now in Black Power is leaders. So I feel like you are one of those people becoming a leader. We're looking for someone to follow. What do we do?
That's what we don't need. Ironically, which don't help because I wrote a book about Malcolm.
Okay.
And I always say to these people, I love Malcolm, but it's not like Malcolm the man. Like Malcolm's dead. Like he's not here. So Malcolm, the reason in the whole book and the film and everything is what Malcolm represents, a analysis and a politics that we have to pick up and run with. And that actually says, look, and if you actually look at historically what have we done wrong, and are still doing, is we do look for leaders, right? So Malcolm starts the Organization of Afro-American Unity a year before he dies. When he dies, the organization collapses. That's not supposed to happen.
This is true.
Marcus Garvey, the largest black organization ever existed, between 2 and 8 million members 100 years ago. When he goes to prison, guess what happens? Folds. It's still there. UNA is still there, but when the figurehead's gone, it's gone. And we're still doing it now with Traoré, Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso. That's going to kill him. And then what happens? Gone again. And the lesson we haven't learned is we actually need organization. And that should be the key. Organization. How do we build an organization that has obviously leaders in it, but isn't dependent on this one figure? Because that one figure will either die or run off with a white woman. You know what I'm saying? Like people are flawed. How do we? And this is what I'm trying to get through with the book and the film, is that Malcolm leaves this blueprint, the Organization of Afro-American Unity, which is very, very much like Marcus Garvey. Well, not even Marcus Garvey, the Garveys. So Marcus Garvey's wife, 2 wives, Amy Ashwood and Amy Jakes. More important maybe than actually Marcus Garvey. We just remember Marcus Garvey because he's the man and he spoke quite well.
It's always the man who remember. Excuse me.
Yeah. But that's not what, like you get me on stage, I can speak really, really well, right? But actually what we need is organizers. Yeah. That's a different thing. Okay. I keep telling you that's a different thing. Like organizing is a different thing. And we kind of missed the organizers in the past, who are mostly women, I would say, just historically, in the UK as well as elsewhere. And the whole idea of the organization is you have an organization that has different chapters in different parts of the world, comes together, has a global strategy, has a local strategy. We put our money into it, so we invest like tax, and then we say, look, what are we doing as black people? That's the solution. That's it. There's nothing else. And there's nothing to stop us doing that other than us. In fact, that idea is easier now than it was before.
Yeah.
Travel, social media, we can really connect. But we're further away from it because I have to convince people that it's the thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, you'd be easy to you'd be easy to convince. But now, unfortunately, we all I think to a large extent, we've kind of become part of the system, think that we can succeed
individually.
Yeah. And that's why I don't use the term professor unless I need to get paid for something. For me, it's not an accolade. It's a job thing, and it's a white job thing, and it's not something I'm that proud of. It's just okay, whatever.
Means to an end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just I did the white stuff, whatever. Great for me, but that's not. I'm saying it's a dead end, but it's not. It's not a solution. More black professors. We could have 1,000 black professors. Ain't made no difference.
Yeah.
That's not what we need. Is organisation, And that's how we should do. Have we got an organisation that can represent our interests?
No.
No, not even close.
Okay. So what was the turning point for you? If you've been like me in the sort of, okay, let's not step into the blackness so much. Let's try and, live a comfortable life, which for me meant, maybe I always envision myself with a lighter skinned guy and going that way and kind of whitewashing myself a little bit. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That was the way my brain used to work. So for me, my turning point, like I said, was probably doing all of that and realising there was a massive gaping hole. Yeah. I developed severe depression, anxiety, and something was missing. I didn't used to date black guys. No. Until my early 20s. Mm-hmm. And then obviously that I started doing that and I kind of felt I can't explain the feeling when I started dating black men. It felt more comfortable, more homely, but I also felt like there was more work to do in terms of it felt a little bit broken, like there was repairs and there was trauma, and I felt like the egos were much bigger and I had to overcome all of that, and that I found myself shrinking as a woman because the black man became this almost put on a pedestal in society, and all the women want a black guy, and I'm not about to lower my standard and throw myself at people to meet this being people are putting it on a plate because they want a mixed race kid. Oh. I'm not going to compete with that, so I'll happily step away. And the thing I found is that the black men would let me step away because there was easier options and they weren't really thinking about it in a way where it's okay, well, is black love important to me? Which for me, I would say no up until a certain point of my life. Now I have a black child. That's changed things for me massively. Yeah. So, my question to you is, when did things turn for you? What was the pivot point where you decided to embark on a different route?
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, I was lucky because I grew up in Black Power, so same way that my kids are in everything. I was the same way. So one of the things my parents had was the Harriet Tubman bookshop in Handsworth. So I used to work in Harriet Tubman bookshop. Okay. And some of my bounty bar phase was rejecting parents. I've done that black stuff. As a kid, you're not really. But the turning point for me was there's a book on the shelf called Stokely Speaks, Black Power to Pan-Africanism. And Stokely Carmichael became Kwame Ture, had this, it looked ridiculous. The front cover, he had this little afro, glasses, he's holding a gun. He looked like an idiot. I was like, what the hell is this? What is this stupid book? But so I picked up and started reading it. Honestly, changed everything. When I started, I was like, wow, that's different. Because I never enjoyed the banty phase. I used to hate my hair because I hate it, so I want straight. So not this book, but the one before, Psychosis of Whiteness, I talk about. There's a song, it's that old song, Bop, by Hanson. Bop, yeah. Oh, God. You know that album?
We always used to flick our hair to that, didn't we? And I remember putting relaxers on, trying to give it all back.
Oh, God. I say, was it just me? Jeez.
Did you relax your hair too?
I ain't got that far.
Okay, we'll leave.
But I actually bought the album. They're the album. Now they're going to say I went to a record show Tower Records and bought the album. That's it back. I can't even imagine. My song told me he did that. So,
I think mine was Britney Spears. Yeah. But yeah. So that was.
But it's just I was just bad. So, but reading that book, that's stuff. When I started to read Malcolm, actually, I read Malcolm's autobiography. That started to change things, and I actually went to South Africa. Fully. That really changed. My music taste changed completely. Starting to Dead Prez album, Let's Get Free. That 100%. I was listening to that album going, that's a great album.
I've never listened to it, but
best hip hop album of all time. Okay. Definitely. That started to change. But yeah, it was that. Stokely Speaks was the first one. Then there's lots of other little things. And then also, once you open your eyes and you're around whiteness, it's obvious. It's so obvious. You're like, wow, I didn't have this before. This is alright. This is uncomfortable. And then I went to South Africa, the voluntary service overseas, did a 6-month thing where you just had to fundraise £500. And you spent 3 months we went to Wrexham, of all places, which is, don't go to Wrexham. nothing in Wrexham. And then South Africa, we stayed in a village. And I came, in the Christmas time, people came to my house, my mom's house, and I used to go to this really white local pub, which is I can't even imagine going there. Like, there's a carvery now, so I went for the carvery. That was fine. But go and watch England games. I went down there, took all these and 6 black South Africans with me, and I went in there and we drink, well, obviously drunk, obviously.
Yeah.
And there's this mixed race guy, and I don't know what happened. Me and him got this argument about, I'm telling him he's black. He's like, I'm not black, what are you doing? I'm looking, yeah, you're black. And we almost have a fight, literally almost come to blows about, what's wrong with you, black? And I've got all these blacks and everything. So it almost caused a riot in the pub. That was probably the actual turning where I was like, okay, there's something wrong, really wrong here. And I think I did try to go back to the pub once when I came back. I went to watch England-Brazil. And just the way they were being in the pub, I walked out. Couldn't date, like the racism was so obvious. I walked out the pub, never went back. That was kind of it.
Yeah, because it's not loud racism anymore.
Right, actually, the public was loud.
Well, really?
No, actually, no, it wasn't loud.
Yeah. I feel like it's quite. It
usually
quite
is. Yeah.
Overt. I think back in the day, the N-word will be getting thrown around loudly.
Yeah, that's true. We don't get that too much.
Yeah, I've overheard conversations, people saying stuff. I was in a white pub doing some work. It's just my local, and I heard a guy say, "Oh, do you remember that woman from school?" But he called her a girl at the time.
Yeah.
But he just said it, like, it fell out of his mouth. And then I was like, okay, do they know I'm sat here? Like, is this just happening? It's so uncomfortable, isn't it? But I think when that happens, I go into that freeze mode. It's not like I'm ready to challenge them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've not really dealt with direct racism. Mm-hmm. It's always been a feeling of, okay, my son plays for a football team that is generally white children. There's not one other black child on the team, and it'll be little things like he never takes a free kick, he never takes a corner.
Oh, okay.
He's kept off for a lot of the time. When he gets on, he'll do a lot and he'll score, but it's like, why is he on for like 7 out of 25 to 30 minutes? And then they won the trophy last weekend, and all of the children had the picture done. It's his turn. The coach walked away with the trophy.
Really?
And I was like, excuse me, Steve.
Wow.
He's not playing for that team anymore now. He's moved on. But yeah, he walked away with the trophy, and I said, as I stood there waiting, like, is he invisible?
Wow.
I think, do they mean it, or do it just... Because you think, am I being paranoid? Am I being overprotective? Is it racism, or was it just coincidence? But... sometimes there's so many. It's like, it can't be a coincidence. It's just like the black kid is clearly invisible almost. So I think as a parent of a black child, we've got extra work to do, and there's extra layers of protection that we've got to put on and building that armour, really. Yeah. I think the reason I took my son out of school originally was because he was being like racially, things were being said that were racist to him. And the teachers were like, oh, well, children will just say what they think, they have no filter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they were really blasé about it. And, my son was told by another child, I'm not playing with you because you look like poo. And then the teacher just said, well, that's what the kid thinks, so maybe you should just play with someone else. And I was like, well, how about we have a word with that child or the parents and try and, educate or do something to make children a little bit more open to the differences between each other. It's not just blackness, it's, other things that might be considered an ailment in school, disability or glasses or whatever. I was the black child with a patch on my eye, and, there was a lot of, for me, I just always felt anything that could be wrong or that I could get bullied for, I had. And I had to move schools because my first school, I got, again, it was the N-word thing. They were calling me that. Yeah. I was only 3.
3?
4.
Right.
It was like nursery reception. Yeah. And one of the year 6 boys was like shoving a tennis ball down my throat, calling me a little N.
Wow.
And I remember it vividly, and I was 3, so then I moved schools, and, luckily I found a school that was a little bit more diverse. But it's like, from then, it's like trauma, isn't it? It's like, get me out of here. I don't want to be involved.
That's mad.
I mean, it's a bit wild.
So I was having this conversation the other day about the way you live depends. So, like in Birmingham, and I live Handsworth Wood, which is actually used to be a white neighbourhood, and then we move in and they move out. So it's now no white people at all, almost.
Oh, really?
It's really,
we come in, they come out.
That white flight that's a real thing.
They got word for it.
Yeah. So when I think my mum moved there, who with? I was like 2, so it was a long time ago, 40 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
There was National Front signs around. There was like most of the kids in the school were white. Now, I live in the same area. When I'm saying there's no white kids in the school, there's no white British kids at all. It's all Eastern European, and there's like 4 or 5. So those kind of things that don't happen, right? Like my son's secondary school, same way. Like you're not going to get no racial abuse in that school because there's no white people like at all. So the experience is different when you live in an area like that. You still get racism, but you're not. No one's calling the N-word. They're just being, my son's getting it now actually with the expectations of him. I'm like, hold on. I had to go and say, look, this is where I will say I'm a professor. I'll sit down and say I'm a professor. I expect my kids. I expect my kids to do well. Don't do the nonsense. But yeah, it's when you're in like somewhere like Handsworth Wood in Birmingham, which is historically black. Even like when you had the race riots the other day, the racist riots last year, they never come around. Like, that just wasn't a thing. We just like watching it on TV, going, they never come to Birmingham. Don't be silly. And when I spoke to my dad for this documentary, he said that was the same back in the day. Like, there were no racists coming to Handsworth because there were so many of us.
Right.
And so it's a different experience when you're the minority, and in some parts of the UK we're actually just not the minority at all.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because I've always wondered about where I've moved. I bought a house a little bit on the outskirts, just due to pricing.
Yeah.
But there's not really a lot of black people. So for me, having my son in schools and fearing racism is a real thing.
Yeah.
And I would like to move back towards the communities where it is majority black people, but for some reason the prices have gone up.
Oh, it's gentrification.
Buying in these areas, in South Manchester, even like Hume, because of the regenerations, Moss Side, and all the apartments going up, it's like basically priced out of the market. So if I was to live around there, I'd probably have to rent. And it'd be for school reasons alone.
But that's what's happening though, because the place like Moss Side, my mom's from Manchester, so like, place like Moss Side now, 20 years, we won't be there at all because they really are moving us out. And again, that damages the community.
It does. And then we end up scattering. And I think people should just be going home. Like, should we just get back to the sunshine?
Time to leave.
I went to Jamaica for the first time in a long time last year, and I just felt instantly at home. But what made me really sad was the way the locals were being treated and how difficult it is now because it's all about the scenery and this beautiful place, but it's being bought out by people who are not of the soil there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's such a sad thing to see, but I think for me, reparations go that way as well.
Like, 100%. I mean, my family's Jamaican as well, and going there is devastating. Honestly, I took the kids and wrote in the psychosis of whiteness. That whole North Shore, there's not one little bit of private beach, public beach. Everything else is you go to Jamaica. You're not going to Jamaica. You're going to bloody China, America, UK. They even have is it Hilton? Hilton had the Rose Hall Plantation Hotel, 4-star hotel on a slave plantation.
I couldn't. When we were doing the journeys to go to Duns River, I was just like, what is going on? It was wild. All the names, Saint this and Saint that, and I'm like, it's. Hopefully they start doing what Africa were doing and sort of reclaim.
Yeah, it's getting worse. Unfortunately, it's getting worse, not better.
Really?
Yeah, there's even parts of my family's from Portland, which is one of the untouched parts of Jamaica. But they're common. Beaches are common. Hotels are common.
That's what it is.
That's what they do.
Even my granddad built a house there, and we've lost that. He passed away. The house is gone. Because the maid who lived there started paying a tax, and even that way that they were the land. If someone owns the house and they have the deeds, why are we letting it go? But that's always something that's really bothered me because my granddad wanted that to be our inheritance, but his children were quite busy here and distracted. So that house is currently not in our possession, but for me, that's something I would really like to change, but it happens quite often, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No one's doing anything about it. Victoria Mutual are there, but they're not really doing...
There's no... I've said this on a different podcast and people didn't get happy, but Jamaica, slave colony, right? We weren't meant to be there. It's not set up for us to succeed. And Marcus Garvey was one of the heroes of Jamaica. What did he say? Back to Africa, where we are, that we can actually build something. Not that there's anything wrong with Jamaican culture and Jamaican people, but you could literally pick up Jamaica and move it that will be much better off.
Yeah. It's just so beautiful. But my son, whenever I say, well, wouldn't you prefer to go to Jamaica? It's Africa. It's always Africa for him. I don't know which part of Africa he wants to be in, but maybe I should learn to follow him. Instead.
Yeah, son's obviously got. He's obviously seen
his
the
own
future.
ideas, but luckily I'm a parent that I'm not a dictator. I'm definitely someone who knows that the children have just as much to teach us.
Yeah.
As we do them, and I never speak down to him. I'll come to his level and take what he has to say on board. So Africa might be something I'll consider.
Hey, that's the way.
Yeah. But I also feel like travelling somewhere and paying for a holiday. It's like, I don't want to go on holiday.
Yeah.
I want a permanent, I want the one-way ticket, but...
Well, we're having the Convention for African People in Gambia next year, April.
Oh, yeah.
So we're doing online May 17th, 18th this weekend.
Okay.
And then next April, end of April, we're going to be taking a bunch of people to Gambia to kind of bring together the diaspora and...
Yeah, okay. Please keep me updated
Oh, definitely,
on that
100%.
because... this is something that's important to me. I don't know where to find it, don't know how to start the journey, but I just know I feel like I feel like a mango tree in a concrete jungle. And it's like, am I going to produce good mangoes? Well, somehow I produced a great mango that was a little boy, but that's about it. So definitely, I would love to be part of that journey wherever I can. And I very much look forward to this evening, previewing... the film. And we'll be back with a little review. Yeah. So any final closing points before we end our conversation today? Yeah,
just stress that the whole point of the film, the book, nobody can give you freedom. We have to come together to take it. So Rambi Organisation of Black Unity is a membership organisation. We want people in Manchester to have a chapter. The website is www.blackunity.org.uk. And you can also check out Make It Plain. Make It Plain's a YouTube Make It Plain website. Make It Plain has all the information about everything that we're doing. And the whole point is that Malcolm has a legacy we need to pick up. There's a blueprint. Let's follow it. Let's come together and let's get free.
He's made it a little bit. He's made the pathway. And as long as we work on it,
we'll go
towards better direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. It's been Nina Simone, your host on No Sis, joined by Kehinde Andrews. Please tune in, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Thank you.